Good morning, or actually good afternoon. Oh dear. I just took a big venture out into the shopping centres and it was packed. And funny enough, they were counting how many people went in and it was just so busy. You couldn't even stay 1.5 meters away from people. So my daughter and I went and took a drive along the beach, take a look from the lighthouse, and we went and bought a hot chocolate and came home. That was my day. I am absolutely flabbergasted by how many people don't know what 1.5 meters is. I would have thought we'd learned that in school, but you're just constantly dodging other people because they don't care. And it really blows me away. But anyway, so my trip into the wild this morning. So got what I needed, came home. That was it. Didn't hang, didn't go sort of just doing some shopping. And my daughter made a good point, I guess, because a lot of people aren't, hey, Jolene, how you going? Because a lot of people aren't working at the moment, it means that they have an opportunity to get out into the public. So I guess what you're seeing, especially on beach areas, the cafes were full as they could get. And I guess, hey, Haley, I do thank you. Yeah, I was having a really off day yesterday. It is crazy, but I think because my daughter's right, because so many people are not working, they're all sort of making the best. Hey, Gigi, thank you. Hey, thanks, Carla. I was just having a really awful day. I'm human like all of you. Hi, I'm great. Thanks, Joanne. Thank you so much for asking. I got up yesterday morning, I did some work for a couple of hours, and I found I was just too, I don't know, just not in the right frame of mind to work. And then I had some readings yesterday, and I thought, you know what, it's not fair to read for people when I'm feeling like, thank you, feeling like absolute codswallop. I felt so yucky. So I cancelled all the things I had to do and I went to bed. I slept for 2 hours in the afternoon and then dawdled around and sort of generally sort of got back into things and felt really good last night. But just one of those days where I just felt so yucky. But anyway, I've been out and about, went to go shopping today. I thought it'd be really good. I said to my daughter, it's probably the first time I've ever gone shopping when I don't feel the need to buy any clothes. Because what's the point of buying more clothes to stick in your wardrobe with all the other clothes you can't wear? So hopefully it won't be too much longer. Hey, Darcy, how you going? Welcome on board. Nice to see you again. So anyway, so we're going to get into some card reads to start off with. And then I'm sure we'll find something to chat about for a little while. I notice I'm a bit croaky, but I think because I've been talking a lot, they don't let me out. And I did a lot of talking today, as did my daughter, but she's got a partner and kids. So she probably just listens more than talks. So me, yak, because I guess I'm home a lot now. And I've probably come to the realization that maybe I'm a little bit more sociable than I ever thought I was. So it's been very, very good learning for me. Oh boy. Okay, let's do one of these first, or however many they sent out. 9 o'clock on Thursday night where you are. They are difficult times, Joanne, and I think, oh, that one wanted to come out. They are difficult times, but I think that it's taught us a lot, right? So we'll take that one as well. Okay, we have the elephant and the crocodile. The elephant's been out before. I think the crocodile has too. The elephant wanted to come out, so I've taken that as an additional one today. Alrighty, I've only just walked through the door. I'm very excited. I bought a big whiteboard to do the classes and work out classes because I've had a lot of people send me emails and I thought, oh, I'll get a board so I can write up and work out where I am from week to week. And I ordered the whiteboard on, I think, Sunday or Monday. And they said, oh, I'll be there before, 2 o'clock tomorrow, and it never came. So I thought, right, so I phoned up the company and said, right, where's my whiteboard? And they said, oh, we didn't have one here, so we've had to get it from somewhere else. So every day, like a child at Christmas, I sat by my front door waiting for my whiteboard. I know that sounds pretty boring, but I was so excited by it. And then I went out this morning to go shopping, and when I come back, it was on my doorstep. Well, not really on the doorstep, sort of around the corner a little bit. They wouldn't have fitted it on the doorstep. Okay, so we're looking for an elephant, which is an earth sign, and a crocodile, which of course is a water sign. Water and earth. Crocodile. Okay, so let's read the elephant first. Good day. How you going? Yeah, I love the Tarot Moocher. Thanks, my angel. You would have noticed I've done some changes to my website to make it easier for you to order readings now. And I've also made some changes to some of the things on there. So slowly making my website a little different. I'm thinking of adding pages for the groups too, and I'm going to vary the groups a little bit so that we can do them at different times. Okay, so elephant first. So this is about being unstoppable. Now, I remember working for this guy years ago. He was a bit of a twat, but he used to always say to him, "Go like the elephant, Yvonne. Go like the elephant." And I've always been a big fan of elephants, but go like the elephant. Like, let nothing stand in your way. Just go for it. So it's about being unstoppable, auspicious, and wise. The elephant is arguably the most auspicious figure in the deck. Like Ganesh, the elephant represents immense wisdom as well as good fortune. It is said that the great elephant is the destroyer of obstacles. So if this card appears when you feel stuck, rest assured the path will soon become clear. To add to the mystery, the elephant is also known to create obstacles in order to steer us in the right direction. Trust this gentle, noble creature. It illuminates the way with the light of self-knowledge. When in balance, one-pointed, focused, generous, and loving. Okay. The crocodile. This is about resting, submerging, collecting energy, and cooling off. So it's funny, isn't it? Because I'm wondering if we're expecting things to move forward and then we rest from that, or whether we're going to have a bit of rest before we move forward. So the crocodile reminds us to step back from the external world and turn inward. Isn't that interesting? So it's pretty much the opposite. Now is not the time for decisions, action, or discussion. The crocodile's mantra is wait. This doesn't mean lying around hoping life's challenges will disappear. The crocodile is much smarter than that. It means intentionally withdrawing, gathering our awareness, observing, and building energy. Fill up the vital reserve so your next move comes from a place of wisdom and power. Isn't that interesting? Hey, thanks, Scott. Yes, I feel great. Thanks. So I feel like here the universe is saying, lie in wait, be ready, but lie waiting, because something big is coming. And it's right on the tail of this. So I feel like it's like, be prepared, because something huge is coming with that elephant spirit. Hey, how you going? Can I tell you something? I'd share a little secret with you. I got up this morning and I thought, you know what? It's cold this morning and it's not warm enough to just sort of go out in a pair of light pants and thongs. So I thought, I'm going to have to put clothes on. Will I fit in anything? Because I know I've probably, I haven't been as active as I would be normally. So I know I've been a little bit sort of get ready to sprint forward. That's exactly right. And take out everything in your way. Anyway, so I got up and I thought, I'm going to have to put jeans on, highly low. So like many of you here, I know you would be the same. I probably have 3 different sizes of clothes in my wardrobe at any one time, because I've always gone up and down with weight, depending on the seasons, depending on the situation. So I always have like 3 sizes there anyway. But I got up this morning and thought, you know what? I'm just going to grab a pair of jeans and I'm going to go for it. And they fit. What? I don't know. I have no idea. My jeans fitted me. Yep, see, right there with me. My jeans fitted me. So I went out in jeans today, jeans and jacket. So I was like pretty happy about that. Yeah. I can remember Carla having more than 3 sizes, but we'll just stay with 3 for the moment, because I do go up and down depending. Yes, yay for the jeans. but I do go up and down with my sizes. So, and that's okay. I like to eat. Funny that. And I've been sort of watching my weight a little bit and trying to exercise at home as much as I can. I have stairs in my house, so they act as good for moving around. But to be honest with you, I did not expect to fit into my clothes. New life. That is what the elephant and the crocodile are telling us. The crocodile's telling us to sit and wait, reserve our power, preserve our power, conserve our power, whatever it is. The elephant says we're about to make a huge move forward with new wisdom that we have. And then I get new life there. Really cool. Okay, card 39. Okie dokie. So the essential meanings of this are birth of new ideas, growth, opportunities, a breath of fresh air, and life renewing itself. This is the card like the Empress, really, in the traditional tarot. When spring awakens the world, joy and excitement can be felt all around and in your very core. Blossoms burst from trees overnight, birds return home and sing their glorious song, and nature is full of promise. Miracles beckon all of us. This is one of those times in your life when new ideas inspire you and new opportunities bring you hope for seeing your dreams come true. All is well in your world and you have the energy you need to feel renewed. Allow your heart to fill with enthusiasm. Let your light shine, for this is a time of good fortune. So something's awakening in all of us here. Hey, Jody, how you going? Something... Sorry, I'm so distracted by what you say sometimes. Carolyn, I was scared when I went into my wardrobe this morning. I have been really quite indulgent at home. I have my best friend here is my coffee machine. I have one of the George Clooney ones with the pods, and I have to limit myself to 2 cups of coffee only in the morning, otherwise I get heart palpitations. So I have my 2 cups of coffee in the morning. And some days... Oh, you're too funny. That's why I have 3 different sizes. I was worried I'd gone out of the biggest size. That's what I was worried about. But I got into them. How cool is that? That's really cool. I was really happy, but I just read Carolyn saying I'm too scared to try mine on. And they don't stretch like they used to. The denim used to be terrible. You'd get into your jeans and they would be really snug and tight. And I can remember, this is how old I am, wearing Staggers jeans when I was probably about 17, 18, when we were doing the disco and the flares were like this big. And we used to lay on the bed. They were really, really high-waisted jeans. And you'd put a coat hanger in and you get somebody to press your stomach so you could pull the zipper up. And you couldn't breathe, but you looked great. I was probably stick figure thin then, though, probably quite slender. That nowadays I have lumps and bumps that I didn't have then. But anyway, yeah, so those are really nice messages for today, aren't they? So I feel like there's going to be a lot of sort of awakening, a lot of energy coming through at the moment about people finding things that they never knew they had before. Oh, you use pliers. Oh my goodness. No, we use a metal coat hanger. And what we do is you'd have to lay on the bed because you'd have to make sure you had your shoes on first. Otherwise you weren't going to do your shoes up. And yet things we did to look good, right? And you'd lay on the bed, get someone to press their stomach in, or you pressed your stomach in while someone else pulled the zipper up. With the Staggers, when the zipper got to the top, there was a waistband and we'd have a couple of buckles to put on there, which were great. You just had to hope you didn't need to go to the toilet while you were out, because then you might not get them done back up again. So that's quite interesting. How are you, Lauren? Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. I was just having a really crappy day. I know, like all of us, I guess I just felt a bit, I don't know, not feeling myself, let's put it that way. And I worked for a few hours. I worked till about 11 and I was like, I just can't do this anymore. Trying to be, polite and nice to people when you're frustrated and cranky with things on the phone is not a nice mix. So rather than keep persevering, I thought I'd just pack up. Hey, Deb, how you going? Oh, yes. And that's what I'm saying. We couldn't even walk in those bloody things. We couldn't even walk in them. We had big, high platform shoes on with them too. So you had to put your platform shoes on first, otherwise you couldn't bend over to put them on. But the denim did give a little bit after a while. It wasn't quite so tight, but you had to have them really tight so that when the denim did give, at least you still looked pretty hot in your staggers. Does anybody else remember staggers? I don't know how many people are as old as me here. Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, it was just one of those days when I really had to take a day out. I just wasn't in the right frame of mind. Like all of you, you have days where you feel your emotions are very close to the surface, and whether that's being cranky or frustrated or unhappy or whatever. And your emotions are very, very close to the surface. So, not much. Oh, Carolyn, you're my age. Good. I'm glad someone else is. Oh, you have to do the shuffle to put on skinny jeans. Oh my goodness. Can I tell you something funny? I remember one time buying one of those, those like a bodysuit to try and make you look less lumpy and bumpy. Hash jeans and Rocky Mountains. Hash jeans, I remember. I don't remember Rocky Mountains. And I bought one of those bodysuits. So I don't know if you remember them. And they were sort of, all the way through the middle and sort of halfway down the legs. So when you put them on, all your lumps had to go, Spanx, that's them. My goodness, I was so excited when I got them. I thought, I'm going to look great in these. I had this really, really nice dress to wear. And I pulled them out and I got them all ready. I pulled them all up and I was so impressed with how I looked. And the next minute they just went ping and they just rolled up around my middle and that was it. They wouldn't stay in place. I just ended up with this round thing in the middle of this. Oh, it was so funny. My poor daughter, I thought she was going to die. We were laughing so much. They just wouldn't stay. And I've got a really long body. And even though I'm tall, I'm about 5'7", so I'm not short, but I'm really long in the torso, and especially from the waist to the crotch area, right? Fabergé, I remember Fabergé. And these things, when I put them on, I was like, great. And I walked into my daughter and said to her, have a look at this. How great does that look? And they just went ping. And they just rolled into this thing around the middle. But anyway, later on, someone put a YouTube clip up, with exactly the same thing. This other person had put them on and she'd done exactly the same thing and filmed it. And it was so funny. Kavitha, how you going? Good morning to you too. And you have a nice weekend too. But it was absolutely hilarious. Yeah, I wished I'd have caught it on tape. Because sometimes, we have those moments where we just absolutely melt down and we're like, I wished I could have remembered to film that. Would have been great. No, it was happening to everybody. They just didn't have I guess that rubbery sort of material to stop them from doing that. Flashback of all the pantyhose. Oh my goodness. Well, I predate pantyhose, okay? I had stockings when I was a kid with the girdle and the belt and the little clips to put on your stockings. So I predate pantyhose. I remember when they bought pantyhose out and I was so excited because I didn't have to wear those girdles with the clips, whatever they were called, on them anymore, with the stockings. Pantyhose. I still wear tights. I do, because remember I talked about them before. I said the guys at the pub used to call me licorice legs because I love black tights. I live in black tights, but in stocking tights, pantyhose, thick pantyhose tights. They're really comfortable. But anyway, I don't know. Well, though, you know what I mean by tights, not leggings, tights with feet in them. But I guess people still do wear pantyhose. I've still got a few. I think I don't wear skirts and dresses with pantyhose or stockings so much anymore. But there was a time when I did, because obviously I worked in different jobs where I was required to be a bit more dressy. Nowadays, I'm all up for just leggings, boots, jeans, anything that's comfortable. Suit me fine. Oh, no, stockings can't come back. What with the clips and the girdles and oh, no, hope not. They were awful things. I know that, they probably might have been considered a little sexy, but nah, not really. Oh, the old beige nylons, yes. Yeah, that's it. They rolled down, didn't they? And you'd end up with the crotch sort of halfway down between your knees and your crotch. You d They just rolled down, so in the end, you'd have to buy knickers. Scott, are you listening to all this? I think you're the only male on board, I could be wrong, but you'd have to wear another pair of knickers over the top of them to keep them in place, otherwise they slowly move down your legs until you had the crotch, yeah, round about your knees. Um, see, the things we do, the things we do. Oh, see, everybody's saying the same thing. Oh, no, those were the days, right? Tight jeans. I don't know how we got out of that time. Tight jeans, big hide shoes, although the shoes nowadays probably would be higher, but those things we wore, I fell off mine a few times and twisted my ankles. Um, thigh high with elastic top. Yeah, they just stay up. The material they're made out of just stays up more nowadays than what it used to. I think it's something to do with the rubber or something they put in the material now, but um, it never used to work when we were younger at all. So yeah, there was sort of a lot of work went into looking good. Nowadays, I'm like, yeah, I'll slap on a bit of makeup, throw a pair of jeans on, 10 minutes, I'm ready now. There's none of this fiddle farsing around for, hours trying to look good. Gone are those days. Oh boy, how funny. Yeah, I still would dress up in a dress if I had to. I mean, when my son got married, I bought a beautiful dress for that wedding, and I know I wore, pantyhose and, like, the Spanxy type things with that because the dress was beautiful, and it was just fitted so incredibly well, and, I lost a little bit of weight before the wedding, and, the dress was absolutely beautiful. So every now and again the big wavy wedges. And I don't even mean the wedges like those. You mean the wedges as in shoes. Ah, thank you, Deb. You're beautiful. Still laughing about it. Sorry. Anyway, I did pull out a book last night and I was having a look through a book. And how did everybody go with the readings this morning? They're very different this morning, but then they're different most mornings. Um, I was reading about in the He Scared, She Scared book. I think I showed this to you yesterday by Stephen Carter and Julia Sokol. Um, and somebody had said to me something about narcissism. How do I know if I'm a narcissist? And I was like, if you're asking yourself if you're a narcissist, the chances are pretty good that you're not, because narcissistic people don't recognize they have anything wrong with them. So, but I found this little thing in here, and I thought I'd just read this to you because I remember with being on the journey and somebody saying to me that most times, even though we're not narcissistic, we may have some narcissistic tendencies because we would have picked them up from our parents or people around us. So I wanted to share this little excerpt from you today. So from here to you today. So it says, we all have some narcissistic tendencies. Many of us have fantasies about the perfect partner, and sometimes we actually believe we can find such a person. We want our partners to look good and to sound good. We want them to reflect everything we think we are or everything we would like to be. And many of us carry with us that little narcissistic voice that points out when someone's real characteristics don't quite measure up to our fantasy requirements. It's the narcissistic impulse that causes you to look at potential partner and think, maybe I could do better. Maybe this person is too short, too thin, too fat, too poor, or too rich. Where do these critical voices come from? Perhaps you have parents who constantly criticized you your choices, your appearance, your friends' choices, your friends' appearances. In fact, perhaps you've been surrounded by people, family, friends, with judgmental attitudes. Perhaps every time you go out with someone, you remember this and place your day in the harsh glare of these voices from your past. You think, is this person good enough? Is this person rich enough? Is this person attractive enough? What will my family say about me if I'm with this person? How will my friends view this? How will the world at large? Um, so the issue of narcissism is tremendously complicated because those with powerful narcissistic voices can reflect one or two extremes and can go backwards and forwards between the two. Often they tell themselves that they are wonderful and deserve someone who is perfect in every way. At other times, they feel that they have no real value and deserve nothing. It is this flip flop that dictates the whole projection of their attitude and relationships. And I thought that was quite interesting to read because people often say to me when they've been dealing with a narcissist, and I know people even close to me have said, how do I know that I'm not one? And I think if you watch any of those people on YouTube, especially that talk about it, will say to you that a narcissist is completely, completely about themselves. So they wouldn't even, in fact, they might be quite insulted if you call them narcissistic and might get quite angry. You may be on the receiving end of someone who shows what they call narcissistic rage, those anger sort of bursts. The fact that you're questioning yourself means that you are able to self-review or look within yourself. So I think that just on the back of somebody asking me that the other day, I just want to say to you, it's possible that you could have picked up some narcissistic traits from your family, from your friends, from your parents that have become part of your everyday thinking. And I remember, see, that's what you do, Lauren. You start to think it's you because of the gaslighting that goes on. And that's what it's all about. That's supposed to weaken your resolve. So if they can weaken you, then you're more easy to manipulate. So just remember that if someone's gaslighting you, they've got you at a weakness. And if they can weaken you any further, then that makes you much easier to manipulate. That's how it all works. Scott must have some male fashion laughs. I'm sure Scott gets a lot out of listening to here, and not only that, probably helps him with his relationships too. But yeah, I thought that would be really good to share with you because I think that a lot of the time we do question, but I think a lot of us carry around some of the things we've learned over the years, and maybe we don't realize that they are narcissistic. So the judgmental thing is something that I learned a long time ago. It would help with your relationships, Scott. I learned a long time ago about judgment, and I found I'm really constantly aware of judgment now because of that. But it doesn't mean that there are still things about me that probably still I've still carried with me throughout my life because they're part of who I think I am. That doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. None of us mean to be bad, but it might mean we would do well to rethink how we do those things. Now, I remember somebody saying to me one time about, an ex-partner I had being very unattractive. And I remember thinking this was something that I always blew out about. You can meet somebody and you can sort of look at them and think they look a certain way. And I've never been judgmental of the way people have looked at all. And then when you get to know them, their inner beauty is so strong and they are so beautiful from the inside that you just fall in love with them. And one day you look at their face and you think, you are the most beautiful thing I have ever laid my eyes on. And then it's worked the other way for me too, where I've gone out with someone who's been incredibly good looking and I've thought, wow, this is amazing. And I've got to know them and I look at them later and I think, why did I find you attractive? Because the inner is not attractive. The outer becomes part of that. So what happens is if you're bitter, angry, narcissistic, or a mean person, that is going to show on your outside, the same as when you blossom from the inside because you have a beautiful soul. So the outside looks really aren't something that you can judge people on because they're not necessarily who the person is. So the outer shell is really irrelevant. What you do fall in love with is the inner person. And if you're still being critical about the outside and trying to change the outside of someone, then that is a problem. Now, I'm not saying you can't say very carefully to someone or very cleverly to someone that, maybe they would, look really nice in a particular way of doing something, or, maybe they would suit short hair, or, something like that, which is part of, just sort of having that conversation, as long as you're not trying to change someone. Because trying to change the outside is not going to change the inside. The inside person is still the same. So you can present in a different way and get dressed up and, do whatever you like, but your outside will still reflect your inside. So watch, because it's so true. I've known people over the years and I think they are so incredibly beautiful. And someone said to me, wow, they're so unattractive. And I look at them and I think, what do you mean they're unattractive? They're so beautiful. I don't get that. I don't get that energy. So I am really come to the point with judgments where they just don't mean anything to me anymore. I'm just going to have a read. Uh, 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 uh. Oh, Don Johnson. Oh, what a handsome man. I watched a movie not long ago and I thought, my goodness, that sounds like Don Johnson's voice. And I realized it was him. It was only his voice, though. And he didn't look anything the same as he used to. It does. It really does, Gigi. It really does match the inside. Um, and that's what I said. They look when the inside's ugly, they start looking ugly on the outside. I don't know why that is. I think we're just taken in by people's external beauty, but really it's the internal beauty that really has the impact on us. Yeah, but Scott, you don't always see the inside to start with. This is what I'm saying. Sometimes we make that judgment when we first meet someone because we don't see the inside. It's only when we get to know them that we see that. And we're impacted by how they are on the inside. So I've met people that I've thought initially were really great people, and I saw their inner beauty when I first met them. But then they start to show the true colors, the mask starts to drop, and all of a sudden a different person starts to present. Or you see, like with narcissists, they can't keep it up for too long. So, you see the way they treat someone in a restaurant, or you see. Actually, with one of mine, my daughter saw it before I did and said to me, I was appalled by the way he treated someone today. And I went, really? Because he's always been so nice to me. But because my daughter was there, he let his mask down. So she saw the true him and she blew away. How are you, Queen of Water? Yeah, see, there you go. I've met people who I've just totally fallen in love with their personalities. They are so beautiful and so kind and so generous. And I think, when people say something about somebody being unattractive, I'm like, I have to stop and think sometimes because I'm so much about inner beauty. Absolutely. Oh, you overwork. Don't blame you. I don't have to work today. It's my day. I have a day off every fortnight. I still haven't heard about my part-time thing. And that's very true, Maria. Once you see that other side, I had a friend that I was friends with for a couple of years, and I saw it at red flags. I saw it at intervals when she was sort of a little bit spiteful about things, but I really liked a lot of other stuff about her. So I allowed her to be spiteful sometimes, thinking, well, that's just part of her personality. But the trouble is when you allow that and you ignore the red flags, that becomes a bit more obvious. And then it started to get really mean and nasty. And I remember sitting there one day and thinking, that is just not a nice way to speak or treat people. And I couldn't deal with it anymore. Once I'd seen the mask drop, it was really difficult to going back to seeing her as I'd seen her for such a long time. So some people are very, very clever about how they keep their masks up, but underneath they're just angry. um, spiteful, mean people. That's it. And you just start to see that, and I don't get that, and I don't get how they treat people that way. A friend of mine, who is one of the most beautiful people on the planet, we've been friends for many years, well over 20 years, and, I went out we always get together for her birthday, and we went out one time for a birthday party, and I arrived late, which is really unusual for me because I'm usually one of the first people there. Anyway, because I arrived late, I couldn't sit with her. I had to sit with at the end of the she had a big long table, and I had to sit at the end of the table with some of the people that she knew, some of her friends. Now, I've got to say to you, nearly all of her friends that I've met along the way are all as beautiful and as sweet as she is. So I wasn't in the least bit upset about sitting with these people at the end. And I knew the woman quite well, but I hadn't really met her partner. And I've got to say to you, after 20 minutes, I said to my friend, I'm not feeling great. Thank you so much. Been beautiful to come and have dinner with you, but I can't stay there any longer. And I made arrangements to go and see her the next day and said to her, this man, first off, was so materialistic. Some of the things he said to me were things, I mean, he talked about traveling and things like that. So I tried to talk to him, but he wasn't really interested in what I had to say. He was much more interested in what he had to say. He said he didn't wear clothes that weren't name brands. So therefore, they had to have a brand on them for them to be good enough for him. But some of the degrading and demoralizing things he said to her absolutely appalled me, and I felt she was such a strong woman, and I was really absolutely knocked to see that she'd obviously got past the point of even sticking up for herself anymore. He was absolutely disgusting, and I couldn't even bear to sit at the same table because I thought if I sit there for too long, I'm going to have to say something. And I said to my friend the next day, I am absolutely her friend, who was his partner, was already, and she was a very strong woman when I met her. He had already knocked the stuffing out of her. She was very scared to stand up to him, visibly scared to stand up to him, and even sort of laughed along with him, and I guess enabled him to be the, I don't want to even call him names here, but he was so pompous and so self-absorbed and just not a nice person. And I felt quite drained by the time I got away. And I said to my friend, if you ever invite me anywhere again and they're there, please let me know so I can decline the invitation. I don't want anything to do with him anymore. Um, yeah, that's right. It's so true. Yeah, narcissists are it's very much a narcissistic thing for them to treat other people at a lower status than them. So if you want to know if someone's a narcissist, watch how they treat the wait staff. Now, that isn't always the case because I have known people who've learned to be at least civil, but a lot of the time they will treat people like they're lower than them, which is really just not very nice at all. Um Yeah, nasty to shop assistants, that's all narcissistic behaviour. Um, it is really hard with that Queen of Water because I do think that once you start to really see through people, it's very difficult to try and ignore the red flags, and I think that's why you start getting a little bit more, picky and choosy about how you hang around with people. Very true, Darcy. That's exactly right. And Maria, I'll agree with you. People can't, and Lauren, you can't. It is really hard to once you see it, to ignore it. So we all talk about ignoring the red flags, but once you've seen them, it's very difficult to ignore that behaviour. Now, I don't know, how comfortable you would think with saying something. I mean, sometimes when people are like that, I tend to sort of go a little bit over the top with my behavior in being nice, because I feel so sorry for the person and the way they've been treated. But certainly if I went on a date and somebody treated someone like that, I wouldn't stay, and I won't subject myself to be around people anymore that treat other people poorly. There's just no good excuse for it. I'm sorry. No good excuse whatsoever. So it wouldn't matter now who it was. And I've had some really strange, covert narcs are very careful with who they choose to see it, but even they can't hide it for too long. But yeah, that's what I do, Lauren. I become overly polite too because I'm like, oh my goodness, you've been treated really poorly. Here's a $10 tip. Go and have a nice day. Because I feel really bad for the way they've been treated. I worked behind the bar for many years. I worked for several years at one pub and then another couple of years at another pub. And as a kid, I worked in restaurants and things like that. But when I look back, I probably was still in my people pleasing, sort of codependent energy back in those years. So I probably would have put up with people being horrible. I didn't like it. It did make me angry. And I remember getting resentful because I had two very narcissistic male bosses in the first place I worked in. And I can remember how they treated other people, but also how they treated me. And I never spoke up because they were my managers. I would never have retaliated. I would now. I wouldn't have an issue. But in those days, I probably got pushed around quite a lot. I didn't really see it as people being mean and cruel. I just thought that that's how it was. I think I just got used to it over the years. So I thought that's how it was. But it's pretty sad, isn't it? Nowadays, yes, I will speak up. I used to make a joke about it sometimes, though, if somebody was rude to me. Sometimes I'd have a bit of a laugh about it and sort of brush it off to try and conserve myself. But at the end of the day, no, there's no good way to treat people. No, you just don't treat people badly. Even when I've been really angry and really upset about something, I will be emotionally intelligent enough to say, I am really angry about this at the moment. I'm sorry. I do not mean to be rude. I'm just trying to get my point across, because I think sometimes we forget that we're frustrated and upset and who's on the receiving end of that. So now I say to people, I'm sorry, I'm really angry at the moment. If I sound angry, it's because I'm angry. But I'll try my best not to get too angry with you because I know it's not your fault. And I've found that most people are really good with that. People will really help you out if they know that you are, being kind about it. But, we all get upset and frustrated. That's okay. It's how we work with that. Oh, Darcy, I had a guy whistle for me one day and I yelled out down the bar, would you like me to stand up and beg or do you want me to pee on your leg? Because I'm quite happy to do either. Because he wolf whistled, did the dog whistle thing for me. It was just really inappropriate. Hey, Moira, how you going? And that's what I said. I always found a funny way to handle it. And if you did that sort of thing, very often everybody at the bar would start laughing. And of course, that person would get the point then. But people did that whistling all the time. And the first bar I worked in, and I was very quick. And I had 3 bars to serve. One of them had a bell, and the other 2 you could see both ends of the bar. And sometimes you'd be busy and somebody be whistling and yelling for you, but they couldn't see you were busy. So I tried to move around a little bit, but it is really hard. But yeah, I try and make a joke about it most of the time just so it didn't offend me too much. But some of the stuff men used to say was really disgusting, quite frankly. And I'm not being sexist. We didn't have many people at the bar in those days. It was mostly men. And some of the guys, as they all sat at the bar in those days, everybody was smoking and sitting right on the bar. And sometimes that they could be quite rude, but most of the time, 90% of the guys that were coming in for beers were really, really polite and very, very kind. It was just generally someone who didn't know you so well or just came in for a beer off the street. They were sometimes the harder ones. Yeah, I agree with you, Lauren. That is really the way it is. Yeah. So if you can have a bit of a joke about it, sometimes you diffuse a situation, but other times joking can be a little bit detrimental too, because if you're going to offend someone who's very, very narcissistic, you're going to be at the end of that rage. So sometimes they just come back at you before you've really had a chance to realize what you've said or done. That's why it's sort of once you become wakened, once you become a little bit more alert, once you start seeing the red flags and you're better off just shutting up and going rather than saying anything. And I think that's the hardest part, because it's with all bullies, you want to, sort of get stuck back into them and give them what for, but it's never going to work. You're just wasting your time. So better off not to do that. So I'm going to call it a day here, because I've got to go and start doing these classes and getting, oh, Lauren, it's the best way to go. It took me a long time, because I used to get very emotional. Of course, I'd get really emotional, start yelling back or getting upset or whatever, or I never would cry in front of someone. That was something I would never do. So I'd get really, really upset. And then over the years, I understood my response with my emotions, because it comes back to that CPTSD. Because if you've been treated poorly, or you've had, narcissistic people in your life that have treated you that way, that response, that trigger gets you straight into your emotions, and you want to fly back at people and give them what for. And it really doesn't do you any good. All you're doing is feeding the narcissist the energy to keep coming back at you. They know they've upset you. They're getting off on that. Makes them feel really good. Yeah, some bullies you can stand up and leave, they will leave you alone, but you're better off just ignoring it. They're looking for the response. They're looking for you to respond. So actually, you're going to really cheese them off if you don't get into the argument. Really cheese them off. So I always think that, with the kids and things like that, it's really hard sometimes when they're bullied to tell them, just to back off and just leave it alone, because they get bullied by others. But no, I don't like bullying either. We've talked about this a couple of times. It triggers. I got bullied so badly as a kid. Oh, got bullied so badly. I had people following me home, treading on the backs of my shoes, calling me names, constantly, until I went back into my shell and just kept out of everybody's way. And then I guess that's when you start putting a bit of a mask on, because you try to be something you're not then. So you start hanging around with the bad kids, because they're the only ones that really accept you. You start to become really rebellious and naughty, because that is your way to be seen in the world. It's the way you belong to a group. And it's the way you sort of stamp your mark on things, by being really crazy. So I was the crazy, weird one. Anyway, I'm going. Have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me, and take care. Much love. Mwah.